I'll take hitches. The Sheikh will be back with us in a few seconds. If you will just hold on. The internet connection is very bad today. One second. We got some glitches going on at the moment. We're not to worry. Okay, Sheikh, we are live, on and off, but inshallah it should hold together by the time we get through this, inshallah.
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yep.
Okay, go for it.
How's it picture on my side? Yeah. Okay. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, rabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. The last discussion we had was about Islam, the 5 pillars of Islam, which are generally the outward actions, which actually deals with the belief in the heart, the inward actions. The fundamental belief of the Muslim is something which can actually make us leave Islam. So this is a very, very, very important topic that we need to understand. In Allah, the angels, the prophets, the books, and the Day of Judgment, and Qadr. So we'll try and cover them. Starting with the first one, Sheikh. So, Barakallahu feekum, Sheikh.
So last one again, start with the first what?
Yeah, start with the first one from the six fundamental beliefs.
Okay.
Muslim, the belief in Allah, and then we go from there.
Okay,
Is
no
the
worries,
internet, is it
alhamdulillah.
lagging?
It is a bit lagging, and then sometimes I lose a word or two, but inshallah we'll do the best we can. I mean, how am I? Am I clear? Do I cut out? Am I all right? Say that again.
Yeah, you're back now. You're back. You're back now. You're okay now.
Okay, I'm not sure why the internet is bad on my end, but anyway. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulihil Kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsan ila yawmiddin. Amma ba'd. So there's a very important hadith, a very famous hadith actually, and a narration of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he was in a desert or amongst his companions, and a man came out of the desert who had really white thobe and really black hair, which was unusual for someone who just come from the middle of the desert, because obviously normally you'd get dirty and dusty. So the fact that he was freshly cleaned and pressed and no sign of travel on him, that usually would indicate something's not right. Where did he come from? And then no one knew who he was or where he was, so he wasn't local. And he asked a series of questions, and then the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam concluded, when he finished asking questions, by saying that this person was Jibra'il, the angel Jibra'il, who came in the form of a man to ask important questions for people to learn about their religion. And this is something which is very common, as a common tactic for education, to ask questions to provoke answers. That's basically it, to ask questions to provoke answers in order to educate. So the first thing that he asked was, what is Islam? And that's what we covered pretty much last week, that we said Islam is the Shahada, the Salah, praying, the Zakah, the Hajj, and the fast in Ramadan. And then he asked, what is Iman? Now, this is what we're going to discuss today. Believe in Allah, in angels, and the books, and the messengers, and so on and so forth. So, in Islamic traditions, there is, you could say, an understanding that when we say Islam and we leave Islam as it is, as in we say, oh, we're Muslim, or I believe in Islam, or so on and so forth, then on its own it encompasses both Islam and Iman. Meaning that what the answer the Messenger of Allah gave sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the hadith about what is Islam and what is Iman, they're taken as being one thing when I talk about Islam. And likewise, when I just say Iman on its own, we talk about, it encompasses both sides. But when we talk about Islam and Iman, then that's where the two sides, you could say, separate in terms of meaning. So, trying to think of an equivalent example. I can't think of an equivalent example in English or in our culture. But basically, when we discuss the two elements individually, specifically, then you could say that the Iman kind of refers to the belief system, that which is held in the heart, whereas Islam more directly relates to the actions that one does. As we mentioned last week, praying, that's an action. Fasting, that's an action. Giving a zakah, that's an action. Fasting Ramadan, that's an action. Even the Shahada, La ilaha illallah, that's an action. In terms of a speech, you say it. You say an action, or you give an action. So that's what we covered last week, and that is an important part of a Muslim, or Muslim's Islam or his religion, is what he does. But also what he believes, then we have core principles or core parts of the religion that one must believe in. And then after that, we have external things. So we have smaller issues that, the nitty gritty parts, that's secondary. But we have the core principles. And the first one, obviously, is belief in Allah. So that's obviously the Muslim. And if you say you have Iman, that sometimes people translate as faith. I think it's a bad translation. Faith is more is different than Iman. But we have Iman, belief in Allah. That's at the core principle. You can't be a Muslim and not believe in Allah. That can't happen. That's not an option. You can't say I'm a Muslim and you don't believe in Allah. But what does it mean to believe in Allah? It means to believe in Allah in His attributes and how He informs us about Himself. And that's very, very, very important part about Islam and Islamic doctrine, that as Muslims we believe and we say only what Allah has told us and informed us about. And this is interesting because there was a podcast discussion between Mohammed Hijab and Jordan Peterson. And Jordan Peterson asked the question, actually. He said, what part of is there a way to experience God? Or is it only through the text you know about him? That's a very interesting question. Because obviously he's coming from a Christian perspective. The Christian perspective being that there's an element of experience. That's what they have, where you would have, you'd feel the Spirit of God come upon you and so on and so forth. That's what they believe. You have the Spirit of God come upon you and whatnot. Now, these kind of things are rejected in Islam. We don't have this idea where you can do some chants and some things, and then you would have the Spirit of God come upon you, and you would feel and embrace God inside you. None of that stuff. It doesn't exist. It couldn't happen. Couldn't possibly happen. How could you possibly encompass and have any kind of perception of how God is? That could never happen. Allah is far greater than the whole of creation, the whole of mankind, and Allah is not a part of and within His creation. So the only way we can really know about Allah is by what Allah tells us, and this is very, very important. And another reason, I guess you could say why that form of knowledge is rejected in Islam is because it's unreliable. As in, we say that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has received revelation, information from Allah, and that's what makes him a prophet. He's a prophet because he receives information, revelation from Allah. So if you or I claim to receive information about Allah from Allah, that would by definition make you a prophet. And as we know in Islam, la nabiyya ba'di, as the Messenger of Allah said, there's no prophet after me. ما كان محمد أبا أحد من رجالكم ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين. Muhammad is not the father of any one of you, but he is a messenger of Allah and the seal, the finality of all the prophets. So this idea of receiving information about Allah from Allah has been cut off and is finished with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So when it comes to belief in Allah, the first premise of Iman, it means literally that. It means to believe in Allah, in that which Allah has informed us, and that which Allah has told us, and nothing else. We don't speculate, we don't estimate, we don't guesstimate. We just accept what Allah has said about Himself in a manner that He has dictated. We accept it. Meaning, Allah has said things to us like "Laysa kamithlihi shay." There's nothing like Him. So that means whatever we guess and equate to being like Allah is false, because nothing is like Allah. And what's make it worse is that the ayah actually says nothing is like the like of Allah, and it was emphasis. It was like "Laysa ka mithli." Ka is like, and mithli is like. So there's nothing even close to Allah in any way, fashion, or form. And the main reason why is because we are creation and Allah is the creator. There is no connection between the two. We only know the creation, and we don't know the creator. I mean, and I'll just conclude with that point here. Is think of it like a fish. A fish knows water. He swims up, he swims down, he swims left, swims right, he goes forward. Fishes, that's their life. Now, is it possible for a fish to understand space when they've never experienced space? They have no idea what space is. As far as I know, they have fish, they have maybe air, but they have no idea what space is. So, as much as a fish could speculate what life would be like above the heavens, they can never actually ever know, because they've only ever lived in water. And even that's a bad example, because space is still creation. But I'm just saying that in terms of us, we are creation and we exist within creation. We have never experienced anything else outside of creation. We've barely experienced creation, let alone outside of creation. We barely understand how this creation works, let alone to go and speculate how Allah works, who is outside of creation. So, belief in Allah is at the fundamental beginnings of the belief of Islam for a Muslim, and that includes believing in Allah's names, and within each name comes an attribute, a description of how Allah is and who Allah is. So believing in Allah's attributes as well, and this is how we come to know Allah. And then we have belief in the angels. So we believe in Allah, and we also believe that Allah created angels. Now, what are angels? They are just a creation of Allah, created from light. So, just like we are created from clay, but we are no longer clay beings, as we're not walking around dripping clay, but we are, is our original building blocks was from clay, which is basically soil and water and so on. So that's what we are created from. But the angels, they are created from light, and they have a given purposes. They have a given tasks in this world, like all of us have been given some kind of task. Bees have been given a task. Spiders have been given a task. Everyone's been given a task, in this creation, and likewise, angels have been given a task or many different tasks. They praise Allah day and night. They follow His commands. They do not disobey. And one of the main differences between the belief in the angels from a Muslim perspective and the belief in the angels from a non-Muslim perspective is that the angels in Islam, as Allah has taught us, do not disobey Allah. Now, from a Christian perspective, it's interesting. This whole idea of angels is very different. To a Christian, an angel can be disobedient. An angel can be evil. In fact, Lucifer, Beelzebub, Satan, according to Christians, is an angel. Whereas we've been given more information in Islam to highlight that actually Iblis, Lucifer, Satan, is not actually an angel. Is a separate creation altogether called a jinn. And I remember when I first came to this idea as a Muslim, it was very foreign to me. It's like, there's something else? I mean, I knew there was angels, I knew there was mankind, but I never knew there's a third thing. But yeah, there is another creation, much like human beings. So the difference between the jinn and the angels, beyond the fact that the jinn are made from fire and angels are made from light, is that the angels can't disobey Allah. They don't disobey Allah, whereas the jinn are like us. They can be disobedient. They have free will, much like we have free will. So due to that, they are very, very different creation and very different motivation and so on and so forth. So some of the jinn are determined to lead mankind to hell. That's what they want to do. And some of them are you could say, righteous individuals, much like us on planet Earth. So yeah, they have different parts or different roles, you could say. But back to the issue of angels, we believe in general that angels exist, and that's part of a Muslim's belief. You have to believe in Allah and believe in the angels. And alhamdulillah, we've got Ismail back on screen, give us. And then we have another part.
I'm just trying to sort out the internet, but it's very.
I'll continue anyway. Don't worry, I'll continue, inshallah. Then we have the belief in the books. Now, what it means by the books? Actually, wait. I'll mention Rasulihi because also messages come before the books. So messengers, we believe in the messengers, meaning that Allah said in the Quran, Allah tells us in the Quran that when He created Adam, Adam made a mistake. Adam listened to Iblis, he ate from the fruit, him and his wife, and because of that, he fell into error, fell into mistake, as human beings do. And Allah told him, after accepting his repentance, told him that there will come to his nation, his progeny, his descendants, messengers. Whoever follows them we get salvation, and whoever doesn't, we destroyed it. But that was where the story began for the angels and mankind. The story began, it's not angels, for the messengers and mankind, where we have a succession of prophets coming to us, and this makes sense. Obviously, if Allah wishes us to be guided, or if Allah wishes us to be in a straight path, if you analyze the ways in which that can happen, how can it happen? So it can either be Allah can either send us angels, Allah could send us angels, but as Allah Himself mentioned in the Quran, if Allah were to send angels, and we were to reject the angels, because obviously the angels is a very clear sign. It's not like something that it's not like a. I mean, it's just very obvious. It's a very, very clear sign. If one rejects it, there's no excuse after. That's the word. There's no excuse after such rejection. So it wouldn't be much of a mercy to mankind if angel was sent and we rejected, and then there's destruction only after that. Whereas if Allah sent angels and made the angels come in the form of a human being, so they didn't come in a natural form, but they came in the form of a human being, then we would say, who said you're an angel? How do you know you're an angel? So the issue is that when it comes to delivering a message to mankind, it needs to be in a manner that is conducive to receptiveness, as in that can lead to human beings accepting the message, to contemplate, to think, to absorb, and to make changes. And this is why Allah chose to send our own brethren, people from amongst us, as messengers to us. So this is why we had messengers starting from Noah, Prophet Noah, Abraham, Moses, David, Solomon, Jesus, Isa, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we had others. So do we believe in general that Allah sent messengers because Allah sent people from our own selves to them, to mankind, in order to bring them back to Islam? Those who listen to the messengers will get saved, those who don't are not. Then we have belief in the books, meaning that with each messenger there came a message. So you can see here, if you follow the path, we've gone from angels who deliver the message to the prophets. We have prophets who convey the message to us in books, which is what we have right now. Belief in the books, and this is the actual message that is delivered to mankind. So Allah is the one where the message comes from. The angels are the ones, or at least Angel Jibreel is the one that brings this message to mankind. The prophets are the ones who receive that message from the Angel Jibreel, and the message itself is the book. Hence why we believe in the books, generally speaking. And I guess the main difference between us and Christians and Jews when it comes to the issue of prophets and books is that, number one, the prophets, we don't believe the prophets are flawed human beings like we are, meaning that the prophets are exceptional human beings. They're not any kind of human being. They're exceptional human beings, people who we can emulate and we can use as models for living. People who there will be no excuse for mankind to reject them, as opposed to flawed individuals that are as sinful as us. It becomes hard to follow someone who is as sinful as us. It'd be like, why am I following you when you can't even follow your own message? So you can see here that when Allah sends messengers to us, Allah does so in a manner that is irrefutable. There's no debate or argument about its validity. Whereas if you have this premise and idea that prophets are as sinful as us, then it makes their message weaker, because why would I listen to someone who their own self don't seem to want to follow it? So that's why you find that if you look at Christian and Jewish literature, they often describe their prophets in ways that are unsavory. Minus Isa, Christians don't describe Isa in any derogatory manner, but they're doing the opposite. They elevate Isa or Prophet Jesus to levels high above his own status that he actually was given by Allah. And then you have books as well. Like I said, books. We believe that the books Allah has given us messages via the messengers, and this came in the form of books, writings, pages, parchments, teachings. But only the Quran was Allah has promised He will preserve that. Whereas other messages, they were entrusted with the people, and obviously over time people added things and wrote things and corrupted certain things. As Allah mentioned in the Quran, that the people write things with their own hand, and then they say this is from Allah. So Allah tells us and informs us that this is what people do. People have done and people will do is they write things and they say this is from Allah. So they can buy with this as something of a small cheap price. They want to make some money. And this is often you find with deviant groups or misguided leaders. Often you find at the core of them is money, where they are charging for their services and where they are making money from people's gullibility and so on and so forth. And this is unfortunate, but it is the reality of life. And then we have the belief in the last day. The belief in the last day. Again, this is the motivation. What is the real message? What is the message of the prophets? It means to believe in Allah and don't worship others besides Allah. Because if you were to worship someone besides Allah, then you in the hereafter will be in hellfire. And if you chose to worship Allah alone, your abode in hereafter will be paradise. So that is an intricate and an important piece of the puzzle of belief in Allah, and that is belief in the hereafter. That there is a day of judgment, a day where your deeds will be weighed, the good and the bad, and whereby you'll be rewarded or punished based on the deeds you did in this life. That's very, 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 very important. The motivation. What is the motivation for mankind to listen? What is the motivation for mankind?
Here's what I found.
Sorry, the motivation for mankind to listen, and that's what belief in the hereafter is very, very important. And then finally, Allah's from the belief in Allah is al-qadar, and this is the belief that Allah has full knowledge of what was, what is, and what will be, and also has full knowledge of what would have been if it had happened. How would it have happened? Let's say it one more time. Allah has full knowledge of what was, what is right now, and what will be. And Allah has full knowledge of what would have happened if it had happened. How exactly would it have happened? That's Allah's knowledge. And on top of that, Allah decrees it to occur as He knows it to occur. So there's two elements to this. There's knowledge Allah has of the events of this world, and also there's the enactment or the manifestation of that knowledge as it's supposed to happen. Meaning that Allah decrees the future. That's basically Allah decrees all things that happen in this world. Now some may say, okay, how is that? How come I don't have free will? Of course you have free will. You acknowledge that. Just because Allah has knowledge of your actions doesn't mean that you have no choice in action. You clearly have a choice. And that's basically the simplified summary of Iman. And obviously we can go into detail with a lot more detail on some of the issues of Iman in Allah or Iman in Islam. But that's essentially the main you could say core tenets or core pieces of Iman in Allah. And I think Ismail is reloading. You're back on track, brother?
We've been in the back doing some technical stuff, brother. Subhanallah.
Should I turn my camera off? Maybe
can you hear me?
A bit easier. I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you now. Should I turn my camera off?
No, I don't think it should. I think it's on the internet. So I've just actually put it onto my phone. and we'll see how it goes. But can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it seems a lot better now. Now that you're on your phone, which is ironic because it seems that now as technology is going forward, the internet on our phones is now getting better than the internet in our homes.
It seems like it. It seems like it. Okay. Excellent. We got about half an hour for some questions. So just going to fundamental things which maybe new Muslims or non-Muslims might have an issue with. The fact that the Muslim is obligated to believe in all of the books, the Injil, the Torah that were sent in. These books have been corrupted, and that the last revelation, the Quran, is a completion of the revelation, and that it's not obligated for all of mankind. That oriented. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alhamdulillah, yeah, you just the last part you cut out. So you're talking about the issues that the Christians may have with the
You didn't get that point, no? Yeah, the fact that the Muslims believe in those books, but that those books are corrupted and lost, and that's an obligation for all of the like the Jews and the Christians, the last revelation of the Quran.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, what many Christians don't understand, or unaware of, I should say, not don't understand, unaware of, is that even amongst themselves they believe that the books are corrupted. Now, maybe not directly, but they do definitely believe that it's corrupted. Meaning, I remember when I was earlier on in the days when I was in secondary school, learning about Christianity, I came across something called the Maccabees. I don't know if you guys know about the Maccabees. Maccabees are books that Protestants don't accept as part of the Bible, and Catholics do. So if you actually compare the Catholic Bible and the Protestant Bible, it's not the same thing. It's very, very, very different. Even amongst the same denomination, when it comes to certain translations, for example, I think the Jehovah's Witness, they have whole pieces, whole chapters and whole sections of the Gospels removed because they say it's not really verified and so on and so forth, so on and so forth. So even amongst themselves, also, and even the Jews have certain books that the Christians reject, and so on and so forth. So even amongst themselves, they are not agreed as to what is revelation. So there shouldn't really be a question as to why Muslims believe that it's been corrupted when they themselves believe it's been corrupted. It's just that they don't say or use the word corrupted. They just say, "Oh, these books, they're not accepted as part of the Bible," and then they move on and say this one is. But don't say that. Well, they don't bring any shade. You can say they don't bring any doubt on what they have. They just put that on. They just throw doubt on these other books. So the same thing. Muslims, we accept that there are things that they have narrated, things that they have said that we can't verify is true or not true. And even in what they have written, even in the wording and the actual form that has been said, it's clear that it's a person's point of view. It's not revelation. Meaning, the Injil, for example, the Gospels, if it says "and Jesus said," that means it's a third person, someone else other than Isa is writing, is recording this information. Now, assuming that what they said, assuming this and Jesus said X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, then maybe we could say that A, B, C, D is the Injil, or A, B, C, D is what Jesus said. Maybe we can give, for the sake of argument, we can say, yeah, that is from Isa. But the part before that, the thing that was nothing like what Jesus said, something else, what someone else said, then this is where we're talking about here as clear examples of even they themselves agreeing with the idea that that these books are not entirely 100% from Allah. And that's what Muslims believe. It's just that as Muslims, we don't know where the line is drawn. As in, the things that agree with the Quran, we say is true. Things that conflict with the Quran, we say is definitely false. And the things which is in between, the many things which is in between, which is neither an agreement or disagreement with the Quran, we say, Wallahu a'lam, we don't know. We'll leave it as it is. May be true, may not be true. We can't deny it, and we can't accept it. We just say we don't know about these unknown things. And this is what this Islam stipulates. As for the Quran, then we can 100% determine and dictate what is from Allah and what isn't from Allah. We can, because we have chain of narration. We can verify things back to its source. We can verify what exactly is revelation, what isn't revelation. And this is why you find that the Islamic version of authenticity and revelation is a lot more stringent and strict than what the Jews and Christians have. Not sure if brothers going to come back. Lucky he's going to get power cable, but yeah. So that's the main thing to say about the issue of the books, and it can be a bit of a shock to the system, to someone who is a Christian, for example, or even a Jew, when they hear things like this, when they hear things like, oh, the Bible's been corrupted, it's not the authentic book as revealed to the prophet. It can be unsettling, you could say. And the main reason is because you've taken things for granted. But if you just take a step back and think about it for yourself, and just look for yourself, not just take my word for it, just look for yourself. You can see, even by the wording, even by the books themselves, that it is written as a third party. There's someone else writing something, and it's being recorded. So you can also say it's like a historian making record of events. Historians are making record of events, and if you are saying and suggesting that these historians were given revelation, then in that case we have two prophets going on. So let's have an example. Imagine the book of Matthew. The book of Matthew in the Gospels. Now, the book of Matthew, let's assume the person who wrote that book is actually someone called Matthew. Now, either he was there and he witnessed these events, and he's only writing what he witnessed. Let's assume that. So he's not divinely guided, he's not like a prophet or anything like that. He's just a person, any old guy, and he saw some events and he's wrote it down. Therefore, we can accept that he can make a mistake. It's possible for this normal human being who just recording things he's seen, made a mistake. Or, which is more likely what Christians would believe, that actually he's not just writing things from memory, he's writing something which is divinely inspired, i.e. revelation. And therefore, that would suggest that Matthew is a prophet, because he received revelation from Allah and wrote it down on paper. And I don't know any Christian who suggests that Matthew or Mark or Luke or John or any of these people are actually prophets. None of them. They say Jesus is the Son of God and so on and so forth, and Moses is a prophet and David is a prophet. But the guys who wrote the books down, I don't think any of them believe they are actually prophets. Now, they might use the word divinely inspired, but I don't think they understand what that means. Because to be inspired by God and to have received messages from God, that makes you a prophet. And that is something, again, people need to start thinking about. I remember, I even remember trying to understand what does prophecy, what does a prophet mean? And I remember saying when I was younger, a prophet is those who gives prophecy. A prophet is someone who gives prophecy. If Jesus came with a message of worship Allah and avoid all idolatry and so on and so forth, but never once said this will happen in the future, then by that definition, he's not a prophet. Even though he received revelation from God, even though he was guided and was given a task by God, because he never gave prophecy, he was not a prophet. And I think that's not a very accurate description, because that would eliminate a lot of people as being prophets. I don't remember Moses or even Abraham or even Noah talking about future events. So it's not. It can't be just the fact that you have to speak about the future to be called a prophet. Actually, all you have to do is be able to be chosen by Allah with a task that would make you a Nabi, a prophet, or a messenger. And Allah knows best. I'm not going to get into the details of Christian doctrine in terms of what they believe, because I'm sure they have their own things they want to say for themselves. But in terms of for Islam or Muslims, our belief that their books are corrupted shouldn't be a surprise to a Christian or a Jew, because even the Christians and the Jews also believe that their books are corrupted. They just don't say those words. They just say, "Oh, this book is not accepted. This book is not accepted," and the church has decided to eliminate that book. I mean, I remember when I first became Muslim, there was a book called the Gospel of Barnabas. I don't know if you guys have heard that one, the Gospel of Barnabas. So there are other gospels. There are other gospels that are rejected. Why are they rejected? Well, they reject it. So if they admit by their own rejection of certain books that people have authored books from their own head, and that these books are not divinely inspired or not from Allah and have been corrupted, they themselves admit that. So for them to say, for anyone to find objection to us believing that doesn't make sense, because they believe the same.
Excellent. Also, the issue of the belief in the prophets, the fact that we believe in all of them, and it is something which negates our Islam if we was to reject a prophet, like Jesus, Moses, Noah, that we believe that all of the prophets are brothers with all of them. But it's unfortunately that the Jews and the Christians don't accept Prophet Muhammad as the last prophet. Give some explanation around that point. It's just crucial.
Yeah, so I think one of the things about Islam, I think most Jews and Christians are unaware
and so just
of.
the point of why. So just a point of why do you think that they actually reject Prophet Muhammad?
Yeah, so
Why
in
they
terms
find
of
it difficult?
the belief in the prophets, I think the Jews and the Christians, if they look at the situation properly, they would find that, ironically, Muslims love and respect the prophets more than they do. Although they think that the prophets are their prophets, not ours. They said, "Oh, you're false religion, and you try and steal our prophets." But ironically, after all of that, we have more belief and respect and Iman in the prophets than they do, because they accuse the prophets of so many evil things, and we say, "No, they're not like that." We love and respect them, and they don't respect them, even to the extent now where in their lands, in their countries, in the Western countries, they allow open blasphemy and mockery of the prophets, that we would never accept that. That is to make mockery of the prophets is not only a major sin, but it's also something which is a criminal act, and it can be punished at the government level in Muslim lands that establish the Sharia. Whereas for them, oh, freedom of speech, ha 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 ha, it's so funny, blah blah blah. I mean, even I think it was this beginning of this year, January 2021, or was it 2020? I'm not sure. They Netflix had some show about Isa, making mockery of Isa, smoking weed and something like that, stupid like that. That kind of stuff there. This demonstrates that we actually love Isa more than they do. That's the irony. That's actually the funniest thing. The biggest irony of all is that Muslims love Jesus more than Christians do. We love Jesus more than Christians
Because
do. We love
they should at
Moses
least
more than Jews
defend.
do.
They should have, yeah. There at least been an uproar, or there should at least been some pushback against this particular program, but they are quiet. They want to stand up for their faith and stand up for their prophet.
Yeah, so like I said, Muslims, to be honest, we are the only people who love the prophets more than love the prophets or love them at all. Actually, I would say love them at all. I think
Yes.
you can go to any Christian and make mockery of Moses or David or Solomon and be confident that nothing will ever happen to you. Try and do that to any in front of a Muslim and see what happens to you. So if you're gonna judge Muslims just from that alone, already we've demonstrated that we are more closer to the truth than they are in terms of the prophets. Not only in terms of how we speak about them and educate our children about the prophets, but also the way we behave towards them. Also the way we behave towards them.
Okay, we've got about 15 minutes left. Can we speak a bit about the Day of Judgment?
Yeah.
The fact that there is a Yom al-Hisab, there's a day will be taken account. One of the fundamental points is that if the belief is not correct, there's no Hisab for you. There's no counting of your good deeds. And obviously we speak about the Mother Teresa scenario, that no matter how much good deeds you have on the scale, if you die and your belief is not correct, and obviously we're dealing with the issue of belief now, then Aslan, there's no Hisab for you. Your Hisab is going to be very short. Did you disbelieve? Yes, you did. Okay, to the fire. But if you die a believer, die a Muslim, then there is a weighing of your good and bad deeds. And if your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds, Allah will forgive you and allow you into paradise. You have a belief, a rough clarification of this point.
Yeah, so the Day of Judgment, I would say it is the ultimate motivator. It is the final story, the final chapter of a story. It is you could say it's where the river ends, meaning that Allah created this creation. Allah did so with the most sublime level of wisdom and mercy to mankind. It wasn't the fact that Allah created Adam and he was staying in paradise forever and blah blah blah. No, it was even Adam eating from the fruit and being sent down to planet Earth away from paradise. All this stuff was part of the creation, part of the story, part of the narrative, for a purpose. What's the purpose? So that those who actually get paradise deserve it, because they did what they were supposed to do, and those who get hellfire deserve that because that's what they did. That's what they're supposed to do. How can a person? And this is part of Allah's attribute of being justice. So I'm thinking this is and this level of justice is all understood and recognized by all, even children. So as a scenario, anyone with children can just test this if they want to. If you have two children, one child, and you tell both of the children, sit down and be quiet. And if you're quiet, I will give you ice cream and cookies. So you leave the room. One child does their best to keep quiet, to behave, and the other one goes nuts. Starts throwing things around, breaks the furniture, puts a cartoon on when it shouldn't put the cartoon on, does all sorts of nonsense, disobedient, rude. But the other child sits there nice and quiet. And then when you come back into the room, you see that one child is all over the place, and the other one sat down, nice. We remember we were young. We would cross our hands and put finger on our lips. We're quiet, and then the parent would say, "Okay, I'm gonna give you now both ice cream and chocolate or cookies." So clearly, the one who was behaved would be like, "But wait, why did I behave then? What's the point?
Yes.
I should just run around like this guy. I should have enjoyed myself and done all sorts of nonsense that this guy was doing. What was the point of me sitting down here, nice and quiet, listening to your commands, obeying what you're saying? If at the end I'm going to get exactly the same. So this is something we all understand. It's not difficult to grasp. I mean, we're even seeing that right now. Aren't we not discussing Matt Boris and his Christmas party? Everyone else is told you can't have a Christmas party.
Yeah.
Where him and his mates
And he
were
has one.
having a Christmas party. So everyone's like, "What's happening here? What's going on? We want investigation. We want retribution. We want justice.
Sack him.
Sack him." No,
Yes,
seriously,
yeah.
bro. Could you imagine? Imagine the leader of one of the strongest nations in the world could lose his job, or they're asking for his job to be lost due to a party. But it's not due to a party. It's due to being fair, because we understand fairness.
Not
We understand
fair.
justice.
Justice. We want justice. Yeah.
Justice. We want our Christmas party.
The man has to go.
So,
so
the thing is, if we understand justice in our lives, why are we robbing justice from our Creator? Why are we suggesting that the Creator of the heavens and the earth is not just? That the Creator of the heavens and the earth is going to reward everyone with exactly the same blessing of paradise for free. So paradise, or the Yom al-Qiyamah, or the Day of Judgment, is a very important part of creation, because this is the you can say the bedrock of all interactions. Interactions are based on justice, merit. You did something, and therefore you should deserve X, Y, and Z. If you do the work, you get the reward. That's at least something, we can understand that. That's why we get so upset when someone does no work and gets rewarded. I mean, often people, they might put down rich families and, this guy who was born into riches. Meaning, he never earned the riches. His dad earned the riches, but he didn't do anything. He was just born into riches. So we already feel the idea that if someone is rich, at the very least, they should earn it, So anyone who objects to the idea of a Day of Judgment where there's punishment and reward, they are essentially objecting to life itself, because we all understand this idea of reward and punishment. Essentially, if you rejected the Day of Judgment, you're rejecting every legal system on planet Earth. Every punishment, every jail, every fine that someone received, you're rejecting the same way. Why should I be fined? We all should be equal and live in eternal bliss and happiness. It doesn't work that way. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That Islam is fitri. Islam is fitri, meaning it agrees with the natural disposition, with the natural self. How a person believes, or how a person is naturally as they were born, Islam is perfectly in line with that, because Islam was made by the Creator. Allah created you, gave you your form and fashion, gave you your behavior and outlooks of life, and gave you a sharia, a legal framework that's in line with that that basis, that premise. So yeah, that's the Day of Judgment, and that's the wisdom behind the Day of Judgment, and how it doesn't make any sense anyone to reject that. And this is the biggest challenge that atheists have, and that is, an atheist, they say that when you die, you just go to dust, nothing. So they've removed justice from creation. They're saying this world is an unjust world. Now, just because it doesn't make sense doesn't mean it isn't true. I'm not saying just because we decide something in our head, therefore it's not the case. But what I'm saying is that is essentially what they are saying. They are saying that you could be a mass murderer, or you could be a serial charity giver, if you want to call it that. It makes no difference. And that's such an ideology. You're the same. And such an ideology would lead society to chaos, whereby there is no motivation, there's no reason to be good. Why should I be good? It means nothing. If I'm good to this guy, I'm bad to that guy. In the end, it's all the same. I mean, there's even a famous
no ultimate justice
song. There's even the famous song by Monty Python. Always look on the bright side of life. That song. There's a phrase inside it goes, he said the phrase one goes, "You came from nothing, and you go back to nothing. What have you lost? Nothing."
Mm.
So that's their nihilist way of looking at
Crazy.
things. Is that for them, it's all nothingness. It's all
Yeah.
rubbish. Be good, be
Mm.
bad means nothing. It means exactly nothing. You've lost nothing. And this is,
That's it.
and one final point, this is why you find the society, the Western societies, and also other societies, are spiraling into the chaos of self-indulgence. All they want to do is just enjoy themselves,
Mm.
because they have no concept of retribution. Enjoy yourself at any cost,
Mm.
because if you don't, when you die, it's gone. So you might as well enjoy it as much as you can now before it's all over.
It's gone. Mm. Very
So
sad.
anyway,
Very sad.
it is very sad, but
Yeah. Just that.
that's what happens
Yeah.
to mankind when they are devoid of the belief in hereafter. They essentially are
Yeah.
rejecting the realities that we all know about, that Allah has created and put in this creation. Go for it.
No, just you know, the key point. Funny enough, that to how can you say, to be judged, to be taken account, you first must have the correct belief, and I think I can't really emphasize this enough, that if people die on disbelief, if their beliefs, for example, if we deny one of the prophets, for example, or we deny the angels, or our belief isn't correct in regards to Allah, we say Allah is three, like, these are fundamental issues that nullify Iman, nullify your belief, and there's no hisab for you. There's no taking account. It's straight to the fire because your belief was incorrect. So we can't emphasize it enough. The fact that we must have the correct belief when we meet Allah, and this is obviously advice to people who are looking into Islam, or those, those who are Muslims and new Muslims, that is imperative. Belief, awalan, first.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely,
Yeah, I just want to end on that, Sheikh.
it says it's a very important part, and we should also ask Allah to make it easy for us to find
Mm,
the truth, to see the truth for what it
mm,
actually is, and to accept it. That's the one of the du'as
mm,
Mr. Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. So they ask Allah to provide, to allow him to come to the truth, to see it as the truth,
mm,
and to actually accept it once
mm.
he has seen that. Because all three things need to
But
happen.
you know what?
Seeing
You
it.
know, it's always yeah. You know what is on my mind? I always think about the Nation of Islam,
Mhm.
like so close but yet so far. Dan, like sometimes we see clips of Louis Farrakhan speaking about how wonderful the Quran is and how wonderful Islam is, and you think to myself, you die believing that this man is Allah incarnate. There's no hisab for you. Finished, done. It's over.
Yeah, yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So close but yet so far.
Yeah, because like I said, there's many people who they as Allah's mentioned in the Quran, they write the book with their own hands and they say this is from Allah. So he's an individual who
Yes.
wrote his own narrative. You
Yes.
saw a people in America who were being oppressed by the establishment, by the
Mm,
people in power, and thought, oh, that he could use their ignorance
mm-hmm.
of the truth to make his own religion. That's essentially what he's done.
But so do you think it's a power move then? Do you think because for him now he's in a position of so-called power, it'll be too much for him to accept Sunni Islam? Because can he really believe that this man is Allah incarnate, or this man is a prophet? Do you think he really believes that, or do you think he's just on a power move, power trip?
Oh, definitely. It's definitely
After reading the
it's
Quran, what tafsir is he reading? From he reads the Quran, what tafsir is he reading to say,
I mean,
yeah,
he definitely knows he's a liar, because obviously
mm,
he was born, he was raised. You know,
yes,
he had a history. He knows exactly who he is,
yes,
and unfortunately, people don't think like that. They don't think, oh wait, this guy.
he had
There was
children
a
as well,
point in
didn't he?
history
What's
where
his name?
where he decided. Pardon?
The, was it Master Ford Muhammad or whatever, had children or something like that, or had illegitimate children, and how can they believe this man is a
All
prophet?
sorts, all sorts.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's end of the day, Allah has given us intellect, and
Yes.
if a person chooses to seek for the truth and
Mm,
asks Allah guidance to find that truth, and will accept
mm,
that truth, even if it's against his own self, inshallah, I'll make it
yes.
easier for him to do that. The most important thing is sincerity and the desire for the truth, inshallah ta'ala.
Mm, mm, mm. Okay, Sheikh, we made it to the hour. Please forgive us
Alhamdulillah.
for the technical mishaps, but inshallah, next week we'll come back stronger and better. Inshallah, I'll be back in my
Inshallah
normal.
ta'ala.
I'll be back in my normal studio. Inshallah ta'ala. But yeah, Sheikh, Jazakallah khair, we missed you for the last 2 weeks, but Jazakallah khair for coming back, and inshallah we'll see
Jazakallah
you
khairan.
again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.